It's that time of week where we preview the Bulls games for the upcoming week of the NBA season, which is week 6. It's been a strange start of the NBA season with all of the game postponements, the rise in COVID cases, and stricter health and safety protocols put in place. And that will be no different going into this week. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. I hope you're all doing well. The Bulls were initially scheduled to have 3 games this week, but after the Grizzlies continue to have multiple players under the health and safety protocol or out due to injury, their 5th straight game had to be postponed, so the Bulls will only have 2 games this week, one of which will be tonight against the Celtics at 8 p.m. Central, and then the Bulls will be off for basically the whole week until Saturday, which sucks for us fans, but they'll be taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. And that will actually wrap up the month of January for the Bulls, which was a very tough schedule for them throughout the whole month, playing some of the best teams in the league and doing it through a lot of traveling on the road. And the Bulls actually held their own for the most part. There were a couple lopsided games, namely the one against the Bucks on New Year's Day, and then most recently against their outing against the Los Angeles Lakers. But outside of that, the Bulls remained competitive in every game they played. I mean, I guess they remained competitive in that horrible loss against the Oklahoma City Thunder that they should have won. But it wasn't a blowout, and I guess that's a positive thing out of it. But yes, it was still a bad loss regardless. So for the 2 final games of the month, these are going to be challenging ones for the Bulls, despite the fact that they'll be in Chicago, because it has been confirmed that after missing over 2 weeks, Jason Tatum will be back in the lineup for tonight's game, which as a Bulls fan, you're kind of like, really? They could have just, held him out for one more game. He even sat out for the game last night. And for the Bulls, Wendell Carter Jr. has been listed as doubtful for tonight's game, at least at the time of this recording. That being said, for Jason Tatum, he might have to shake off a little bit of rust after missing some time. On top of that, the Celtics will be playing the second part of a back-to-back, so hopefully the Bulls will be able to take advantage of a somewhat lethargic Celtics team playing last night and then having to travel to Chicago for another game. My keys for this game, well, obviously, you've got to defend Tatum well, and I assume Patrick Williams will likely be guarding him. Another opportunity for Patrick Williams to guard the best player on the opposing team. But aside from Tatum, Jaylen Brown is having an incredible start to the season. Now, some of that can be attributed to the fact that with Tatum being out, he's been able to get more touches, and there's been more reliance on him in terms of scoring. But Lavine will likely be guarding Brown, and then Kemba Walker, let's not forget about him. I know he's getting a little older and is a bit on the decline, but he's still a lethal scorer on any given night. And when you've got Kobe White guarding him, a guy who is struggling on the defensive end, it could be a long night for the Bulls if they're not on top of it in terms of locking these 3 guys down. And the Celtics are a decent defensive team, not one of the best in the league, but the Bulls aren't going to be able to just get away with whatever they want on offense. They're not just going to be able to win this game in a shootout. They're going to have to earn it on the offensive end. Now, usually in these weekly previews, I predict which games I think the Bulls will win, and I've actually been pretty bad at that so far this season, but my guess is the Bulls will likely lose this game to the Celtics tonight. But I don't think it'll be a blowout by any means or completely lopsided like we saw against the Lakers. I do think the Bulls will fight hard and keep this one close throughout the game. But despite the Celtics coming off just having a game last night, they're just too good of a team with star talent, especially with Jason Tatum coming back. Both Tatum and Brown, they're averaging 26.9 points per game so far this season. They are deadly on offense, and the Bulls, who haven't been the best defensive team by any means, I just don't see them coming out of this one with a win, but I do hope I'm wrong. The Celtics are one of my least favorite franchises, mainly because of their fan base, so I would love to destroy them in a commanding win, but just feel like that is unlikely. Now, for the Bulls' other game this week against the Blazers, so we've already seen this team, and they were at full strength when we did see them, and the Bulls pulled out an incredible win, one of the best wins of the season, where they came back from being down 20 in the first half, and they didn't have Markkanen for that game either. Now, Damian Lillard and McCollum were uncharacteristically cold that night in terms of their shooting. Well, mainly in the second half. They just couldn't hit their shots down the stretch, and that really helped the Bulls in securing that win. I do think seeing that kind of performance from both of those guys in the same night like we saw in Portland is very rare. I mean, that duo is one of the best backcourts in the league. On top of that, I do think they're going to come to this game for a bit of revenge. It was a pretty bad loss for them after blowing a lead on their own home court. It would almost be like the Bulls seeing the Thunder again. You know, they're going to come out to that game with a bit of their chip on their shoulder and doing whatever they can to redeem themselves. And that's what I expect to see from the Blazers. However, with the Bulls having all of that rest between tonight's game and then until Saturday, I'm going to give the Bulls the edge on this one. And this might be a little too optimistic because the Blazers are a good team and they've been playing much better since the last time these two teams met. But I think with the confidence this Bulls team they have coming off a great win against the Blazers a few weeks ago, and because I'm predicting a loss against the Celtics, which would be 2 in a row for the Bulls are going to be hungry for a win. And hopefully by Saturday, Wendell will be back. I assume Otto will also be back in the lineup. I know that he just sat out last game just for load management issues. So that means the Bulls will be at full strength, which is not something we've actually seen so far this season. So the keys for this week, honestly, it's continuing to play as a team, fighting through adversity, even when they're down big. That was one of the positives of that second half game against the Lakers, was that they continued to push through and chip away at that 30-point deficit at halftime. The other key is taking care of the basketball. The Bulls still continue to struggle in turning the ball over. They are still dead last in the league in the number of turnovers committed. And finally, Bulls have to play better defense, especially against these two high-quality teams that have very, very talented offensive players. I'm excited for the game tonight, though. As always, I'll have a live game chat for anyone who wants to join in and discuss the game while it's happening. We also have a Discord server that you can join where we have a chat during the games as well, so feel free to join that if you'd like. It's a great community there. I'll leave a link in the description for you guys. And as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan and you like Daily Bulls content. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one.